Okay, this is video 2.7, Converting Between Systems. It goes with pages 177 to 180 in your workbook. All right, earlier in the unit, we talked about converting within systems. So we were talking about ounces to pounds. We were talking about seconds to minutes. Now we're going to be talking about converting between systems, and that would be like inches to centimeters. It's not going to be as pretty. We have some really big decimals for some of these conversions, but it is possible to convert between pounds and kilograms, for example. So put a star next to this. We are going to come back to this and use these conversions a lot in this unit so that we are able to convert between these systems. Okay? Let's look at example 1. We're converting 17.22 inches to centimeters. And pay attention when it says round to the nearest hundredth. With all these decimals, when you're multiplying and dividing, you're going to get some pretty long decimals at times. So make sure you watch for that so that you don't do a lot of extra work. Okay, so if we know that 2.54 centimeters is equal to 1 inch, we're going to start with what we're given, the 17.22 inches, and we want to end up with an answer in centimeters. So our centimeters will go on top. We will write that unit ratio with our centimeters on top so that our inches on the top and our inches on the bottom will cancel. Then we're simply just multiplying 17.22 times the 2.54, which ends up giving us a long decimal, and we'll round to the nearest hundredth like it says and end up with the 43.74. Again, this is very similar to what we did earlier in the chapter, converting between units, but now we just have a little different type of unit that we're converting between. We're going to be converting between systems. So in this example, we're going to be converting 5 kilometers to miles. Okay, so it tells us 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. This is also in our table that was on the previous page. And now we're going to convert using the unit ratio with miles in the top, okay? Because we wanted our final answer to be in miles, so we want to put our miles in the top. The other reason is we want kilometers to cancel. We don't need kilometers in our answer, so that's why we chose to write it 1 mile over the 1.61 kilometers. So kilometers will cancel, and then we're multiplying the 5 times the 1, which gave us the 5 miles, and the 1.61 on the bottom gives us the 1.61. We're going to have to divide, and if you were actually dividing this problem, you need to remember your decimal rules. Okay, so it would look like this. The 5 is on the inside, 1.61 on the outside. Remember, we cannot have decimals on the outside of the division box. We're moving 2 times to the right on the outside, which means we have to move 2 times to the right on the inside and add your zeros and your decimal so that when you divide, you're going to get the right answer. They've done the work for us, and we get the 3.11 miles. Okay, but remember those division rules. All right, we're going to go. I want you to pause your video and try to figure out option A. So we have 6 yards, and I want to know how many meters is that. So you're only doing A. Pause, show your work, and show me you know how to do it. Unpause, and you'll see me work it out. So if I've got 6 yards, I know that my conversion is 1 yard is equal to 0.91 meters, okay, from the table. I need to decide, is the yards going on, or are the yards going on the top or the bottom? Well, I know I want them to cancel, so I want the yards on the bottom. And the other reason is I want meters on the top because my answer is going to be in meters. So when I do that, I'm going to cancel my units that I can. So yards on the top, yards on the bottom will cancel. And I'm simply multiplying the 0.91 times the 6. So 6 times 0.91 gives me 546. But I also know that I've got 2 places past the decimal, so I need to move 2 places with my decimal. So I'm going to end up with 5.46, and my unit is meters, which is great because my answer was supposed to be in meters. Okay? Let's move on to the next example. On this example, we're actually looking at converting using a proportion. And converting using a proportion is always an option. They're showing us here that, remember that the 1 cup is equal to 236.59 milliliters. They got that from the table in the beginning of the chapter. So if we're doing that, we're saying that 236.59 milliliters is equal to 1 cup, right? We knew that from our proportion table right here, our unit ratio. They're saying if we're asked about 828.5 milliliters, how many cups? Well, we knew from our previous work, if we go from 236.59 to 1, I'm dividing the top by 236.59. So whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. So if I do that, I end up just getting the 828.5 milliliters divided by 236.59. What they didn't show you is they actually canceled. A milliliters in the top, milliliters in the bottom is going to cancel. So they're going to end up with, they're just dividing the numbers. And then on this side, you'll end up with the 3.50 cups, okay? And that's where you can use a proportion to solve these if you are having trouble with the other way that we learned earlier in the chapter, okay? So lots of different ways to solve this, but again, we're just converting between units. We're going to skip example 5, and I want you to pause and see if you can solve F. Okay, pause your video and let's look at example F, and then unpause and I will work it out for you. So we've got 35.85 liters and we're trying to get to gallons on the other side. I go back to my chart and I see that 1 gallon is equal to 3.79 liters. Now, make sure that you have it written with liters on the bottom because, of course, we want these liters to cancel, okay? When the liters cancel, then I'm left with just the division. So I've got 35.85 gallons divided by 3.79. And I've got to go down and divide. So when I do that, I get 3.79 on the outside of the box and 35.85 on the inside. Remember, I cannot divide with decimals on the outside of the box. I move it 2 times to the right, 2 times to the right. So the problem that I should be solving is 379 into 3,585, and there's my decimal. In the interest of time, I'm not going to divide this out, but you should get somewhere close to 9.46 gallons. Okay? So show your work here, though. I want to see how you solved for this. Okay, moving on. Example 6, we are converting a 50-meter long Olympic distance pool, and they want to know how many feet is the pool. So they've given you the unit ratio. You're going to start with what they've given you, the 50 meters, and multiply by the 1 foot over 0.3 meters. Remember, your meters will cancel. Meters on the top, meters on the bottom. So then we're multiplying 50 times 1 gives us the 50 feet here. And then we've got the 0.3 in the bottom. So then they're just simply dividing 50 by 0.3. Again, you've got to move that decimal and add a 0. When you divide that out, you end up with the 166.67 feet. Okay? If you're a little bit lost in this unit, go back and look at the section 3, lesson 3. And if you rewatch that video, that may help also. These are the same skills. We're just applying it with a little bit more difficult numbers. Okay, last few things that we're going to do is I want you to do 4 and 5. I want to see your work. So show your work and tell me the answer for 4 and 5 here. And then I want you to rate yourself, right? Tell me, do you understand what's going on? Are you ready to move on? I hope you're shading yes, that you are doing great at this and you're ready for the next lesson. All right, we'll go over these questions in class tomorrow.